All right. What's going on? We are back for Guard the House, Part 3. CPS kidnap our children, but... All right, so we left off with the story. We left off talking about, getting ready for the trial, right? So we went through... Remember, I told you this started June... It took our children June 28th, 2024. So we go through this whole year rig and roll. We went through a couple months, only getting 1 day a week for 2 hours. Then it was 2 days a week for 2 hours. And it was tough. Those visits was tough because it was like, you had your family, no you don't. You got your family, no you don't. You got your family, no you don't. And that process alone is part of the trauma of the machine. So, and they don't care. They don't care nothing about it. Through that process, I've talked to supervisors, I talked to people, and it was just, it really, as I talk to parents and see these different stories, because at first, a parent is like, man, they made a mistake, and, you think it's just a mistake and they're going to cover it up. Yeah, I mean, not cover it up, but yeah, they're going to cover it up. But you think they're going to just kind of like, fix their mistake. But what you start to see is that they will double down. They will confuse. They will distort. They will do all these different things. But they're saying that they care about the children, but it's a relentless onslaught to destroy the parent. It's a relentless onslaught to destroy the parent. It's as if... Like, it is definitely a force that's driving, an evil force that's driving the machine to do what it's doing. Talking to supervisors and seeing the lifelessness within their eyes, seeing a disconnection from you sharing your heart. I remember a conversation I had with a supervisor, and I was telling her about how the one of the social workers was laughing as this whole situation is playing out with our family when they get in the warrant. Not laughing in the sense of like in our face, like, ha, this is happening to you. But in the hallway when we're going through this, it's just business as normal. It's like laughter. It's this and that with, along with the officer, along with this evil, social worker. And it's crazy. And I bring that up, and it's a disconnect because the supervisor could not believe that the social worker had evil intent. And so as we get deeper and deeper into this, it's very apparent that the spirit that they're operating in is malice, to the point where you begin to see that all the players are involved, from the judge to this to that. It seems to me that there is some deep pain and hurt and some experiences that they have brought into these spaces to make them candidates to actually hurt and in some cases destroy, steal, kill, and destroy, families. And because they actually believe, here's the thing, they actually believe that they're helping children. They actually believe that they're helping families, but they will steal your children and then pay somebody else to take care of your child, but they won't care about the parents. And so it's totally disconnected. It's totally disconnected from what's actually happening. And they brought their experiences, their life experiences in there, their pain, their hurt, their all those different things into this experience to turn around and hurt others. Right? And people that are traumatized, that don't get healing, from Yahuah, right? From his son. They turn around and hurt other people. And this is what's happening on the mass scale, on the grand scale of a thing. So we're going through these visits. We're getting closer to the end. The report has came out. The atmosphere has kind of changed a little bit in our favor. because it goes from these cruel parents that had their child circumcised at home to and they twisted and broke his bones to, okay, y'all just made a bad decision and circumcised your son, and y'all don't have the authority. And that's what the later argument became. You don't have the authority to. Now this is where it got real weird, because I told you the law states that parents have the authority. The scriptures state that you have the authority, but their whole thing was you don't have the authority. Like it was very apparent that, and they tried to write it off as a medical neglect thing and try to move it that way and word it, jargon it to where, their whole thing, oh, you're not a medical professional, you're not this, you're not that. But really it's coming at, you don't have the authority to, because I remember talking to the lawyer and I asked her, and she didn't really understand the ordinance, because we had actually looked into it before, our son got circumcised, and it says it in there. And her argument was like, no, well, case law says, but I said, is there any law that outlaws, because if it did, then now mohilas who are not medical professionals, they're not urologists. And that's another thing too, is what's happening. I don't know if it's how it's happening in America, but circumcision now is becoming a medical thing to be under your, like they have co-opted that specific thing. And that's why I think in San Francisco and somewhere in California, a lot of the community that, whether it was Jewish, Hebrew, all these different communities came together to get a law passed, because they were beginning to A, criminalize it, B, say that oh well, just say it was, like say all these crazy things, like it was barbaric, and then the hospital co-opted it and saying like it has to be under us. And so that was the whole argument in our case. So we're getting to the end of it, but it's really what it really is a spiritual. And I think one of the things that Yahuah really allowed us to see is how much the state and the machine hated the truth, how much they hated specifically the circumcision. Because, when you read in Genesis, he gave that to Abraham because it would be a sign of the covenant of the children of Yashrael, Israel. And that was a foreshadowing to the spiritual side of things, which would be the circumcision of the heart, which is done, through the spirit that Elohim would give people in the New Testament, by believing in the one who was sent, the only begotten Son. So this is the thing where we began to see like, oh, they really hate the authority of, like, what was clearly apparent to me was they hate the authority of the Father. And I mean talking about the earthly Father. Like, they hate the authority of a father. Because even in the beginning of we went to court, and it was like I was like the alleged father, and I got the birth certificates, and it's like I'm the alleged father. You know what I'm saying? Like, they kept stating this, and it hit me learning about other parents' cases, and particularly the father cases, where it was this pattern where they start off saying we don't know who the father is, even if this father got their birth certificate, he got DNA evidence. Their thing is we don't know who the father. And part of the trick is they want to remove the authority of the father. And they want to get the father to consent to something. They want to get them to remove, whether by consent or whether by ignorance, to remove their authority from the children in order they can remove because if you may not believe this, but a lot of these things happen in the spirit first. Because we consented to some things that we didn't know we consented to. So all these things are bottling up. We're learning our lesson. We're learning the lesson that we're supposed to get in this thing. We're getting closer to this trial, and we went through, like I said, with the family, we went through a lot, just, on those visits and really just gelling. And I think towards the end of the trial, towards the trial, we were really in a good space because we had figured out a system to kind of minimize the to the best of our ability the trauma, but it was still some spaces there because, like I said, that pull and take is difficult on a child, it's difficult on adults. But we were also able to, the blessing of it was we were able to focus on things that were building, our children up and reassuring them about, what was going on and strengthening them. So that was good. So here we go. So we this is my third lawyer. Remember, so this I told you, the first lawyer, we didn't trust them because they kept trying to coerce us and say that it was a fracture. And then we got the report. And then they, I didn't tell you about this, but the head lawyer was like, I'm kind of impressed. I mean, you got, all this other stuff. And it's like, no. You the same person that was saying that this happened, or whatever. You was agreeing with the state. You're supposed to be representing me. I don't trust you no more. Right. Third person, I told you, lady, she tried to block the evidence. Third guy, he's just a clone. But he I would say he was a little better in the sense of, even though he was lazy, he did allow me to see and he did talk about what was going on a little bit from that perspective, even though it's kind of how I took it from him. He was like, man, this is how it is, and we really can't do nothing about it. Because we don't have, there's no accountability from the judge. So, just take what you can get, right? So he was the only one that kind of just really kind of let me know on that end. But my beef with him is he wasn't really doing his job, and I'll show you. So we got the report. Everything's submitted. Like I said, they done the whole narrative changed, because now remember, it started with, we want to terminate your rights. We bypassing you because of these. And here was the wild part, is they had all these allegations at the beginning, and then they said we're gonna modify the allegations. And then when we get to trial, because we didn't take the deal, they wanted to say, well, we're gonna bring the other allegations that we were saying we was gonna take away. We're gonna bring them back. So it was just this whole trickery situation. And now, so we get into the trial is set. So we let me say about this. So the trial is set, right? So no, let me go to the date that the trial got set. So man, you sure you want a trial? Yeah, man, yeah. So the date for the trial is about to be set, right? Because they're making us, both of the lawyers are trying to make us feel almost like bad that we want a trial. It was crazy. So we get in there, they're about to set the trial, and the state almost like, I kind of feel like they didn't think that we were going to be strengthening Yahusha to continue to go, right? And so they didn't even have witnesses prepared. We had one of the guys we was gonna call. We had a couple folks. They literally in court calling folks trying to get confirmation. Now, it was somebody that worked at the hospital that lied about the whole thing about the circumstances, lied about, I'm not gonna get into details because here's what I gotta be careful, but they lied about, it was a CAP, what they call child abuse pediatrician, was lied in the records. It's Pakistani, and it's weird too. It's a lot of foreign people that are becoming these CAPs. I don't know what that is. We're gonna dive into that. It's a lot of foreign people that's coming, people from Pakistan, all kind of just different countries that's coming over here accusing parents. Gotta look into this. So, so our expert is kind of is aware of some not maybe by name of these people because he's been out of that hospital for a minute, but he kind of knows how they operate. So they want to call her to the thing, which is going to be very interesting because it'll be a showdown between this guy that actually founded the child abuse department, who actually trained child abuse pediatricians, who now knows what's up, that you can't discredit him because his resume is just wow. You know what I'm saying? And they want to bring a person in there from that department that, you know what I'm saying? So it's for them, it's like danger, right? It's like, this will be catastrophe, right? So they say they're going to call him, right? They say they're going to call that person. A lawyer telling me later, he said he don't think they're going to show up, right? So we like, okay, well, cool. We got our person, whatever. So the trial is set. It's confusion on their end, big time, right? But they sticking to their guns on whatever they saying, allegedly. So then as we get closer to the trial, and they did, and because I think before they set the trial, they tried real hard for another deal. And they were like, okay, I don't know what the first deal was, but it was like, yeah, man, we could do this, you know what I'm saying? And maybe we can get them back. Like I said, it was termination of the rights, but you can get them back. And it was kind of like they tried to sweeten the pot. And I think because we didn't agree, they tried to, the continuance was something crazy. It was like 4 months. It was like 3 or 4. It was a long, and it really hurt. It really hurt because it was like, we was thinking like we about to get the trial like next month. And it was just like, they set it for like the summer. It was something, they set it for like super far out. And I was like, what the heck? Like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it was like almost like a jab, So that really hurt. But, we coming up on, this is 25. This is 2025, right? So we coming up on this trial date, in the summer. And, we got the report. Everything is good. We thinking that, okay, we're thinking that everything is good, right? So we get to the trial date, and our expert is set to, he's set to testify, right? He's set to testify. He's prepped. He's ready. So we get there that morning, and then that morning, the bailiff is like, man, like I really feel like y'all, some things gonna work out in your favor today, whatever. I think you're gonna get them back or whatever. So that's like that. They hit us with that. So, but when you've been going through this thing with the machine, you don't really be believing nothing they be saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, you be like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gonna see what y'all, because we don't know what that is. What does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I see the lawyer, they try to be giddy, say, oh, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Man, we got a deal. So they bring us in the room, and it's all psychology because they hyping you up for you could take the deal. You know what I'm saying? So we get, okay. So, all right. So, and they say the same thing, but they repackage it. You know what I'm saying? All right. So look, so they're willing to, modify some things, and within 2 to 3 weeks, we do some unsupervised visits. You get your children back. So we like, what, because something, it's like you learn how to, Yahuah helps you how to talk and everything. And then it's like, okay, well, so what are you saying to modify? I said, yeah, well, so we would, so the fracture, it's just, you really can't stand on that because they really can't stand on that because, we got the evidence. But, with the circumcision, it's just a bad, because what the issue became is now they want you to admit that you were mistaken. It was a mistake for you to do it. That's part of the neglect. But the issue is, if Yahuah is calling me and called me to circumcise my son. And I got that word. And by the strength of Yahusha, I followed through on that word. Then I would have to say it was a mistake to obey the word of Yahuah. And then now that puts me in a predicament against you, against Yahuah. So, and in praise Yahuah, he strengthened me to not to reject they offer. So we reject the offer. And they it really, I think it was a blow for them that was like, because they hit us with the 2 weeks. Like, man, we get you. Because remember, they saying we're going to terminate your rights. You ain't going to never see your children. They're going to dot them out. All the worst scenarios, right? But Yahuah strengthened us to say nah, right? So you have a situation now. Now they leave out. We in court, and he tell me, he said, look, we got two options. We can go to trial today, or we can just argue outside of having the trial. I said, nah, we here. They lied for all these months, and now they want to back down and say the fracture wasn't a thing, but you used the fracture in order to take our children, and now you want to back down. It doesn't make sense. Let's put everything on paper and go to trial. So now the lawyer comes back again. This is all on the trial date. He comes back and says, well, they're not going to bring their witness. And it's like, of course they're not, because they have a person who has all their trade secrets and, the information that's going to be testifying against them, which is a huge liability. So he says, because of that, we don't want to bring our expert in. I'm like, why wouldn't we want to bring our expert in? And he's like, because it will look bad to the judge if we have ours and they don't have and they don't have ours. I said, why would it look bad? Because that's on them, right? And so what you got to understand, pause. You got to understand that they all friends. The state, along with the person that's representing you, which is the state, really. And because I remember talking to one of the CPS workers, and they messed up, right? They said, oh, you got our lawyers? This was CPS worker told me. She said, you got our lawyers? And I was like, huh? And I was telling my wife, I said, did you remember what did you hear her say that she, like, they're lawyers? What does that mean? You know what I'm saying? It's exactly what it is. They lawyers, right? So they know how it works. They know once you get in the machine, all the parts. And so, because what happens is now, with people that, sometimes has money, and not to say this is work, is, I heard that you have to have a lawyer that's not from that county because he has no loyalty to that judge. So he'll come in and say, Judge, Your Honor, that's wrong. I'm gonna have to write this board, and I'm gonna have to call this person. I'm gonna have to do this because that was wrong. That doesn't make sense. That's the code 300, blah 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 blah, and it sets the tone for a different type of atmosphere. Versus all these people work together every day. They always having conversations, and they always are trying to always come into agreement with each other versus getting to the truth. Because it ain't about coming to an agreement with everybody. It's about getting to the truth. Right? So we in there. So he comes back, we can argue, and we having this conversation. I'm like, look, let's just go forward with it, man. If they don't bring their people, they ain't got their people ready. That's on them. They look crazy. But I said for us, it looked good, man, because we gonna come with the, let him testify, let him get the information. We ain't really had a chance to present. We haven't had a chance to present our side of the story yet, because that's how the system, the machine is set up, to where they get the judge and all these people are getting reports that the CPS has filed that they have lied. And throughout the whole process, it's only CPS that's giving reports. So by the time you get to the trial, they have already poisoned the water of everybody to believe this narrative that they've been telling. And you ain't really got a chance to really even say nothing to the trial. And before that, people's minds is already made up. So it's not even due process, right? So now the issue is, I'm questioning him on. I'm saying, well, let's bring it. Let's go ahead with it. Let's do the thing. And he's like, well, the thing about it is, I'm the lawyer and I get to make that decision. That's what he told me. That's quote. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at him like, wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't really have nothing for that. You know what I'm saying? I was just okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's terrible that you would say that. So at that point, I really didn't know what was going to happen. In a sense, I mean, I believe in faith that Yahuah got us. You know what I'm saying? Regardless, but we at the date where we could potentially lose rights to our children forever, right? So he says, he says, and the decision that he's gonna make is to argue outside of the trial, right? So I'm like, oh my goodness, man. So maybe on one end, I'm thinking like, well, maybe he's gonna come with it, and so he gets up there, and it is so unprofessional. I can't believe that. When I thought about lawyers, I thought about respect, articulation, being able to narrate the story, a really good storyteller, being able to break down the facts, being able to really expose the lies. And what he brought to the table was one of the most grotesque spaces of ignorance that I have seen in a professional setting. So see, Your Honor, so I mean, okay, so all right, so let me rephrase that. You know what I'm saying? Like it was that. It was like I had to put my head down type of stuff. Right? And it was embarrassing. It was totally embarrassing. And then when the state was up there lying and just making all fabrications and all type of things and accusing us. Look, this is what they did, right? Let me tell you this. And I'm gonna be very blunt what I'm about to say. A lot of these people are going straight to hell. A lot of these people that's kidnapping and bearing false witness and keeping up the false witness and keeping up the kidnapping, there is a special place of punishment reserved for these people because they have no mercy. They have no compassion. Right? Like the state gets up there and is going to tell the judge that the reason why this ordeal has drawn on longer and longer is because the parents' inability to accept the truth. Right? Which their truth was that you violently did something, and then now it shifts to, well, I don't know if they because the fracture thing, we could what probably happened is, the circumcision happens and they probably pushed that, and all this other stuff. So they try to soften it up. But they try to blame us for all these lawyers that wanted us to agree that we abused our child, right? Wanted us to agree with that. You see what I'm saying? They wanted us to agree that we abused our child. And he said, "Oh well, this is," and a whole bunch of other lies, right? But that's why I just because this is the type of situation where it can make you snap. And I have to believe that there is justice in Yahusha because all judgment has been given unto you, Yahusha. And I believe that those people who will not repent in this machine they're going to have to answer for not just what they did, but every single case. Every single case. Every single false judgment. Right? And this case also showed me how we have to be careful about perceptions of what we hear and what we say in the sense of how we judge a matter. Because, you know, throughout the process, when we talk to certain family, when we talk to, you know, part of the beef with, you know, some of the family that I had was, you know, it was almost like siding with the state. And I had, you know, once I started sharing my story, I had friends tell me just some like super uncompassionate stuff, like, man, you should have had your child taken, and just all kind of wild stuff, where it was like the spirit of people was really coming out to see, like, oh man, this is great. Like, people are so cold. Like, it's just crazy how cold, like emotionless. And it just got to me to see another level of how just far humanity has gone from the Creator. So, but before that, let me wind back. So before we were at, because remember I told you how the lawyers actually talk to the judge before the parents come in. So we right there by the courtroom, and we can kind of hear what's going on. Because throughout the process, we've heard some things outside of the courtroom that kind of gave us insight into what was actually going on. And that's why I'm able to say, not in the conspiracy thing, but they all are working together. And unless you get somebody that don't care about the judge, don't care about this other lawyer, they have no loyalty to them, it's going to come up there and raise hell, then that's the only way you really have a chance to really get some things that you really want. But I remember one of the court dates where my wife believed she heard the word perjury. Now, the lawyers never, because I kept bringing perjury up. I wrote the judge, told her, man, the social worker committed perjury. And, you know, because the district attorney has to actually, you know, prosecute that. But my wife heard that word brought up when we was outside the court from the judge, or, you know, and then they had a whole discussion about it. But it was like, shh, man, don't talk about the perjury. Yeah, what, you think it's perjury? Nah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You know, so they're having this whole conversation, but we never get the insight. We never can find out what happened with that conversation. They don't tell us. It's allegedly judge, lawyer, confidential, whatever. I don't know. But on this particular date, they're supposed to have the trial thing, they're going to have the argument thing. I hear the judge say, what's taking y'all so long? Now, this is right after the lawyers try to position us and to try to propose this fake deal. What's taking y'all so long? And then we hear somebody say, well, the parents, oh, they don't like the deal. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the judge is asking them. So you see what I'm saying? You see how crazy that is? That the judge is saying, what's taking y'all so long in closing this deal with the parents? And they don't want it. So the whole thing about the court is they want to punish somebody. So we hear that and I'm like, oh, this ain't good. This ain't good, because that lingo means that they want to hurt you. They want to do something. So we don't. So I hear that, and then they say, "Oh, you come in right now." You know what I'm saying? Oh, snap. You know. So we go throughout the trial, or not even the trial. Excuse me. Scrap that. It's the argument thing, which our lawyer is doing a terrible job. My wife's lawyer is doing a little bit better, but it's still not enough, because she's not able to articulate. She ain't studied. She's just saying basic stuff. She's not able to articulate. She's not able to come against their points. Like, and it's really easy if you took 5 hours, you know, to study the case. So the judge doesn't buy the whole the bone thing. She doesn't buy the whole bone. She ends up scrapping that, right? But she ends up trying to like modify all the different things to say, well, y'all committed medical neglect because of what the state is saying, that you're not a medical professional, right? That's not a law, right? Because if this is the case, then every mohill that has circumcised a child that maybe had a complication from that circumcision should be persecuted at that point, right? So that was the whole thing. So she tried to say, well, I'm going to sustain this. I'm going to scrap this. I'm going to modify all this. And then, saying, but as a result, because I don't think y'all was this and that. Well, she didn't really say all that. But Jesus said, well, I'm going to just give y'all children back. But in order to punish her even further, we requested more time, and they were going they put it out real far to where we can, you can get your children back, but it's going to be all these other steps, right? So that was even hurting there too, because it was like, man, they really want to punish parents. That's what they want. They want to destroy parents, bro. They want to destroy the family unit, bro. I'm convinced. I'm convinced there's no justice, or whatever that word is supposed to mean, whatever. So my wife is really hurt. I'm really hurt, and we pray. I mean, Yahuah gave us a lot of prayers against this system, man. That I'm excited to see in Yahusha's name take place, because this thing is gonna fall. That machine gonna one thing about them computers, bro. Hey, they can get hacked, bro. You know what I'm saying? And that joint gonna crumble. And everybody gonna see it, bro. And it's gonna be a relief. It's gonna, and that's only gonna be. And that's what I want parents to understand, man. What we fighting against, bro. I know you think it's the law, the next legislation gonna do it. I know you think the president gonna do it. I know you think whoever think they gonna do it, but it's gonna be Yahuah Elohim and His Son, man. That's what it's gonna be. That's what's gonna be, and it's gonna be very evident when it happens. So we got to go through this. So we're going through unsupervised visits. We finally get out that facility and start being able to have our children in our home. And that was just a beautiful process, man. It was a beautiful process of just reuniting and being able to get out of those spaces, because it just felt, and it just felt like, when we was getting them back, it was just like, oh, this is what it felt like to really be in those spaces and have, your children. And it really, I think really what Yahuah did through the trial is really help us slow down and really see our children in a different way, to be present in a different way, to really understand also that there is forces and there is a wolf that is lurking out there that wants to destroy them, that we have to know is out there, because we are to guard the house, as the podcast, talk about. So that was a big thing. And then, I remember, just those first days of really having those unsupervised visits, and then the first time we were actually able to bring them to the house that, we had, when we had moved out, we had moved into a house, and really bringing them there to see, and just, them just laughing and running around and just really trying to just figure out what was happening. And we were able to kind of like, share. And it was interesting because my son Zakar, he was telling me this story where he was talking about, he would repeat it multiple times about this monster that was trying to like get the children, like it was trying to devour the children, like and I don't remember sharing this with him. I don't remember like telling him about, like, maybe, I don't know, I don't remember those stories on him, because I was asking, where you get this story from, and he was repeating this story, and I was able to just talk to him about it. I said, what? I said, man, this was cold, man. This was cold. Well, I'm gonna say that I ain't say cold. This was fire. How Yahuah gave it to me. this idea, because I was like, yeah, that's a really good story, man. But what if one of those boys that the monster was chasing, he gets courage in Yahuah, he gets strengthened in the Messiah, and he gathers those little children to understand what's going on, and then they got strengthened, and then those children go chase that monster. And he was, I saw his eyes light up, and he was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, that's your story, because I remember, hearing when the CPS worker would come to the grandparents' house to, have to do the visit and everything, he would leave and run and go hide under the bed and say, things like, I don't want to be taken. I don't want to, they're going to try to take me. And, all those things, which was, just so tough to hear, but for me, as I want to empower him to be relentless to destroy these kidnappers. Yeah. And false witnesses, right? To have so much fervent prayers against them that they're either going to repent or their whole generations are going to be wiped out. And you may think that that's very harsh and that's very tough, but when you see the relentlessness of how far they will go to destroy a family, you understand that, I see why in generations past, of when I read this history book, this truth book, why whole cities, why whole generations would be wiped out, because the next generation would rise up and do the same thing. So we can't let none of them live. And that's how I feel about it right now, is that, hey, if you are a part of this operation of machinery to continue to do that, to stay in that apparatus, you shouldn't live. The reason why is because you are now I'm not condoning murder or any of that stuff, so I don't want nobody to take my words out of context. But what I am saying is, spiritually, you should not live, because you are destroying lives for the sake of your pocket, for the sake of getting in your nice car, to go to your nice neighborhood, to go to your warm pillow, where a child out there is possibly going to foster care, possibly getting raped, possibly getting sex trafficked, and you out there getting up in the morning, getting your coffee, getting in your nice car with your push start button, and driving over to court. You should not live. You shouldn't. Everything should be taken from you just as you took it from them. That's the word in Yahusha's name. And then not only that should it stop there. It should go to their next. If you have it should go to them. It should go to your next generation, and it should continue until that generation says, what has happened? What has happened in our family that there is so much destruction coming upon us? It is like the Most High that Yahuah has rained down his judgment on one person, and now we all getting it. Yes. Because that's exactly what they have done on the opposite side. So they should be able to feel it. So the scripture says, to whom is given mercy shall be given mercy. But if you don't give mercy, guess what? You don't get none. Zero. And that's what's up. Because that's what the prayer is. And I believe it's coming. I believe it's coming. I believe it's going to hit the fan. I believe that they're not going to be able to keep the job up. They're not going to be able to keep it going. There is going to be a massive shift in judgment that is going to happen to them. Because it's been going on for hundreds of years. It's spreading to all races, white, black, Hispanic, poor, rich, Democrat, Republican, Independent, whoever's out there, it's happening to all these families and people that's happening. But guess what? There's a reckoning coming. There is a reckoning coming, and it is ugly. It is ugly, from the judges, from the bailiffs, everybody who touch money, They had to deal with the false witnessing. They had to deal with the kidnapping. And you took these children and because there ain't no law. I ain't talking about no lawsuit. I ain't talking about no money. I'm talking about straight up, when that button get pushed, you're not going to be able to stop it. You're not going to be able to pray it off. You're not going to be able to say, well, let's go to church. Let's see if they can stop it. No, because you have been warned over and over, and you'll continue to do the same thing. Not only do you do that, you double down on what you said. You double down on the false statistics. The medical industry doubles down on their false junk science and say, no, this is what it is. So every doctor, every board member of the American Board of Pediatrics, every head of the hospital, every person that it came to their desk and they threw it off and they said, I ain't want to, this ain't got nothing to do with it. And they doubled down. Guess what? It's going to be your generation. And it ain't going to fall to the ground. It's going to be your generation. You are going to harm other people in your family that is connected to your family off the blood, because the blood is going to be on your head, and Yahuah is going to come not just for you, but to the third and fourth generation of those who hate him. He's going to come for y'all. He's going to come. And it's going to be ugly. And I pray that parents cry out to have this same prayer, because that's what is deserving of it. It ain't just let me get my child back. It's let me get my child back, and all those other children y'all stole, return them, or y'all gonna die. Because I believe it. It said that if you kidnap somebody, that's what the Torah say. If you kidnap somebody and the kidnapper is caught, that person is put to death. So we don't have the ability to put somebody to death, because they gonna you murder somebody, you're gonna go to jail, right? But what we praying is, you don't want to repent, and now of course we know. Here's the thing: is yes, that you have to go to college, you have to become a social worker, you have to become a pediatrician. Most of these people are going through college and going through these places actually wanting to help somebody, right? But then when they get in the machine is about one thing. The machine is not going to let you bring your whatever you think it is. It's going to shift what you think is help into what the machine says is help. So now you're going to be in a conflict where you're going to see some things that wasn't right. All that didn't make sense. All that didn't make that was crazy. And then you're gonna have a moral dilemma on your end to say what you're gonna do. Because the machine ain't gonna change. It's a program. It's not gonna change. It can only be destroyed. That's the only way you can stop the mechanics of it. Because the machine was built and designed to do one thing. So if it's built and designed to do one thing, it can't shift to do anything else but what it's designed to do. So the only way it could stop is to be destroyed. And that's what we're talking about. And that's what I believe will come. So, so it was a journey to get them back. And it's still been a journey to heal. And so many parents are going through this. I mean, the stories, we were blessed to just go through it and see what was going on. That, like I told you, that Ezekiel thing. Oh, you think that's something? Let me show you this. Let me show you this. And we seen from the judge, from the lawyers to this, it ain't no help. Because it's people that had $100,000 and spent it on a lawyer and still lost their rights. That's how the machine was designed. But one thing is evident, is that the truth, that even if, you went through these things and the rights and all this other stuff, just stand on the truth. Do not regress. Do not let them make you feel that you have to justify yourself to them when they did wrong, when they broke the law. They broke the law. Whatever lesson you are to learn from Yahuah and his son, that is between you and them. But what the system, with the machine, what the machine did, no. The machine violated, and every person who was in operation in the machine, that's what they did. And they need to answer for that. So that's the only conversation that we need to have, is the violations in which you have not just broken my constitutional rights or my human rights, but you have broken the spiritual right that I have to be a parent. That this child has been given to me, and ain't nobody on earth has the authority, unless Yahuah has deemed it, to say, oh, you can have you can't transfer my right, you can't transfer my rights, you can't terminate my rights. This child was given to me. It wasn't given to you. So that's a whole doctrine in itself that we could talk about and get into about that whole belief. But that's some of the things that we have consented to in this country, that they have logged us into, that we don't even know what is going on. And so, parents, we really got to protect our children. We really got to find out what we have consented to. We really got to find out what's actually happening in order to protect and guard our children, and to also make sure that we are not justifying ourselves just in general in our life, as far as your faith, that you're not justifying yourself in a sense, in the sense of declaring yourself righteous, like how Job was, because because those trials will be brought upon you in order to deliver you from that spirit, because that's one of the things that really jams a lot of people up. And I come from the Hebraic Israelite community, and one of the things that is big in that community is the law when it comes to I'm talking about religion right now. But it comes to law, and a lot of people justify themselves by the law. Like, yes, the law is good and for our edification to be able, but we have to remember that the promise was that the Spirit would be written on our hearts to obey the law, statutes, and commandments. So it is by the Spirit of Elohim, through the new covenant of our Master Yahusha, by his blood for the forgiveness of sins, that we have a right to receive the set apart Spirit, to receive forgiveness, to walk in the way, the truth, and the life, which is his word, which is the things he said, the things he will say. Like it is encompassing in all the words of the lawgiver. That is where, and he is where life is. So we can't justify ourselves to say, well, I keep the Sabbath, or I do this, or I do that, and it may not come out like that, but it can come out like, it may not even come out in the law thing. It can come out in you justify yourself because you have a lot of knowledge. You justify yourself because you think you're righteous, because you have a lot of money. And in the case of the doctors and all this, because they have education, because they have authority, they justify themselves that they can say whatever and nobody can check them and have authority, and they're God because they have ascended to this position. But those things will not allow you to escape the judgment of sin. It will not. Because the wages of sin is death. And if you in debt, and if you will not accept the gift of payment, then you have to die in your debt. You have to die in your sins. So, so that, but back to the thing, man, it's been a beautiful journey. Just, and officially August 6th was their return home, their official return home. And it's just been, and then we welcome, and that was part of the trial too, is that we were having our third son, and my wife was pregnant, even at the with the trial, because it was she had Shamar July 13th, 2025. So that was an amazing experience. And then so we were just really praying to Yahuah that he would protect him, because in the midst of, because when you're in the midst of a trial and it's open, a case and it's open, they investigate the new child, and it's been stories where they've taken the new child away from the parents too, So that was a whole thing where Yahuah protected us, to 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 have him and have no issue with them. So I just give thanks to Yahuah and his son for really looking out for us, really protecting us, really having us, because it was tough, and there was some moments where, man, I questioned, you know, what they were doing. I'm saying it straight up, like, what's going on? This don't make no sense. But as I get on this journey, it's like, man, like this is where the fight is, and it redirected me as a filmmaker. It redirected me as a father, husband, to see where the trajectory of the fight is right now. And we are in crisis. We are in crisis right now. When it comes to our children, when it comes to our babies being kidnapped, we are in crisis with parents being falsely accused, the false witness, because because it's a curse. In Zechariah, in the book of Zechariah, it was saying that this is one of the early words that he gave us. In the book of Zechariah, it talks about how the curse of the false swearer and the thief would go throughout the earth, and it would go into the very buildings that this was happening, and it would literally consume the timber. It would consume the inside of it. And I believe that's what's going to actually happen, is that because of false swearing, that's what they're doing. They're going to court. They're falsely swearing. They're falsely swearing their testimony. They're perjuring. They're going to the judge. The judge is false swearing. And you coming to talk about that you're going to say the truth. They have these people swear on the Bible, and they have, you know what I'm saying, like all this stuff, but it's false swearing. And then the theft coming in, the false swearing is allowing them to steal, to kidnap, which is stealing. So this is what's happening, man. But enough of them. But we got our children back, man. We got our children back. Praise Yahuah and praise Yahusha, HaMashiach, Messiah. And it's just been a beautiful journey. And we I ain't said everything. I ain't said everything. But yeah, it's been a beautiful journey, and I'm excited to be in the fight with a lot of parents, with a lot of people that have been in the fight longer than we've been in the fight. We didn't even know this world existed where these things are happening, but it is a crisis. It is the days of Pharaoh. It's the days of Herod. And it's time for us to take action. So if you want to take action, you can email me, dennisdelamar@gmail.com. You can see what we got going on, how you can be a help, how you can take action. And you a parent, you want to take action, right? That can involve anything. That can be involved, just spreading the word. That could be involved in, becoming a participant in some of the work we're doing with film. That could be a participant in, like, let me screen some stuff. Let me organize something in my city. But, one thing I'll leave you with this. One thing on just ending this journey, and part of this journey is just the preciousness of what we have been given as parents to be stewards, to train them up in the way they should go. And that's part of the system. Part of the machine is they want to discourage parents, because when you take these classes and all this other stuff, it's like the way they want to raise children is to make them so disconnected to the parents, where the parents don't have no authority over the children. So one of the things that's important when it comes to wrapping this thing up is that you're hearing this and you're like, okay, what's the point? Maybe because you may be a parent that you're actually going through this. You need to get to the main thing. The main thing is the truth. And once you get to the truth, you stand on the truth. And not letting these people, destroy you, to insult you and insult you as a parent, because you've been given a gift, which is your children. So stand on what you know. And, you know, I would say read the book of Job to see the lesson that he got that you can only get in these trials. That's one thing. Because once you make that shift to say, you know what, I'm going to trust Elohim, I'm going to trust him for my deliverance and salvation, you know, it may not be easy. It may not be overnight, but you know, you and take the burden off yourself to feel like you have to justify yourself, to feel like you have to prove to the judge, you got to prove to this, like there is a greater judge, right? So that's the message for the parents, to know there's a greater judge, that judgment is in his hands. And though these people try to rule against what he desires, they will be held accountable. But for you stand on what the real judge is saying, right? So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, you may be a parent that, hey, I didn't even know about this. I ain't even had no acquaintance with this. I'm asking you to take action, because one of the things as a parent, like I said earlier about hearing this, oh man, they was ratchet, or oh man, you did this, because there can be a way in your mind to justify why you think that this happened. But one of the things that I saw in this trial is that evil happens because evil is happening. That wasn't even really deep. You know what I'm saying? It's just like there is no there's sometimes there's no reason for evil. Sometimes, yes, it is a trial from Elohim that is sent, but sometimes just evil is happening. Innocent people are getting hurt. You know, and it's hard to wrap your mind around it. Well, how could there be a higher power if these things are able to happen? But what you got to realize is that we live on earth. This earth was given to Adam and his descendants. So the ugliness that you are seeing is by the design of man and his co-signing and his relationship with the evil one and all the fallen angels. That's what you're seeing. So you can't put blame on Elohim, because he's giving us a way out. But you got to take action, because if you heard this, you are called to action, to share this, to go find out about what medical kidnapping is, because what happens is, I use this example all the time. What sometimes happens is, if somebody's getting robbed on this block, right? It's like, oh, that's Johnny and them. They ain't got nothing to do with me. Or they robbed somebody else. Oh, yeah, they ain't got nothing to do with me. But what you got to understand is, once they touch the block, they already declare war on all of us. So parents, understand, if it ain't happened to you, they still declare war on you. You think they won't try to take your child? You think because you got a good job, they won't try to take your child? You think because you make this type of money and you got this type of job, you can hear the resume of some of these parents, and be from veterans to some of them are nurses. Some of them are nurse practitioners that work in the hospital, and it's still happening. Some of these people are sheriffs and police, and you name it, it's happening. So don't think for 1 second that what you justify yourself by is gonna happen, or that happened to them because they was doing that. It happened to them because they was black and they was poor, or it happened to them because they was this, or it happened to them is because okay. Because when you hear that knock on your door, it's gonna be different. And so that's why you got to take action. You know, because I know we were one of those parents where we seen things happening and seen things going on, but kind of one of those things is like, hey, you know, we got our own life. We got our own problems. And that's where we have broke down as a community, because we haven't realized that if it's happening to you, it's happening to me. If they can get away with it for you, they gonna try to come for me. They gonna try to come for them. So no, they can't get away with it. They done did it to me, and I gotta feel like that. I gotta know that. I gotta feel like you hurt me doing that to them. That's my brother. That's my sister. That's my cousin. That's my family. We ain't even blood, but you my family. So that's where it comes down. And if you're a professional, that's part of the machine. Man, you have a liability that if you don't do something, the blood gonna be on your head. You gonna cost not just your life, but you gonna cost the life of your generations by not speaking up. So you have an obligation, you have a duty. This ain't just one of the other things of a million things that's happening in the world. There's a lot of things happening in the world. But you talk about children being our the not just our future is as that's, always clichely stated, but the children are the members of the next members of the community, the next leaders. They're the people that's going to carry on the legacy of the parents. So when you talk about them, you're talking about ideas and you're talking about just so many things that is encompassing that are going into that storehouse, that are being traumatized to become weapons of the enemy. Because those very, not to say the statistics say that this person that was in social work went to foster care or something like that, but imagine the traumas and things that these children have went through. But imagine that judge that had all this trauma and now she's a judge and she want to take it out on everybody. That's all the judges that they pick. But imagine that child that's now taken, that you could speak up right now to stop that momentum from happening. And now that same child, that situation don't happen where they grow up. They able to get healing. They don't grow up and they have this inside thing of hatred to want to hurt people. Because as they separate families, they create recruits. Because they traumatize them, and then after they traumatize them, they indoctrinate them. And after they indoctrinate them, they become weapons. And after they become weapons, they begin to hurt people. And now this little girl, this little boy that had parents that they needed some help. Maybe they needed some help. Maybe they didn't need no help and they just got intruded on. Whatever the case is that now that child is growing up and is now a weapon. But on the flip side, professional, you can speak up. And now that same child that was going to get taken, that same child that was going to have to experience that trauma don't even have to go through that. And now they're educated on what's going on, and so they can become part of the fight to help destroy the machine. So yeah, man, I'm so thankful. I pray that I can be able to share more stories about just the coming. But that, said, it's one song I wish I could play on here. Because I want to get the video jammed up and strike down or whatever. But it's this song that, because I want to be able to. I feel like I ain't putting enough sauce on, just when they came home. But I will say this: there is a song that I found, which when I heard it, it just brought me to tears, and it sums up the moment that our children came home, and I'm gonna put it in the description so you can check it out and link it there, and I may actually put it in the video. We'll see. But this song called "Welcome Home" is, if you want to experience the moment we experienced, this is what this song is like. So that's that. We're gonna we made it through. Hallelujah. So Guard the House podcast, man, we're gonna start bringing other parents on here, because this is the issue right there. This is where I'm at right now. This is where I'm at. If you want to hear something else, I don't really know what to tell you right now, because that's where I'm at. That's where my mind is at to talk about that the machine gotta let the children go. That's where I'm at. That's where my effort is. That's where my effort is put to. And like I said, I'll be branching out. Who will have me talk about this stuff? That's what we're talking about. But right now, that's what we on. So with guard the house, y'all willing, we're gonna have some more parents on here, coming on, different, coming from different spaces, different backgrounds. But we have one common enemy. We have one common problem. And we're going to talk about what's going on. We're going to talk about medical kidnapping. We're going to talk about all the things that's going on, and to bring them to bring them on and talk about them, and to continue to keep this thing going, to jump on here. So I look forward to that. So keep updating to that, because we like I said, we're not getting off of it. We got a long way to go till we start. We would get some results, you know what I'm saying? Like, so, stay in store for that. Like I said, reach out to me, man. Cause one of the things which was very discouraging throughout this trial is how much people didn't care. Now, there were people that we experienced that did care. They're far and few. But when I say people didn't care, I'm talking about like if it's 100 people, 5 people care. You know what I'm saying? 95, either they're non-responsive, or they're against you, or they justify themselves in why this happened to you. Right. Just like the Job thing. Hey man, sure, you probably did this, bro. You probably did that, whatever, whatever, however they want to spin it. But I think in this age, because of social media and different things, that people and the lawlessness, that the love of many is growing cold. So it's time to warm your heart up. Time to get by that heater of love. You know what I'm saying? And get your heart warmed up. And and really find out what's going on in your community, what's going on in the nation that you live in. What's going on, man? So I'm about to be out of here, man, but that's my encouragement, is to reach out and continue to pray for us, continue to pray for our family and our family healing, because we fresh off this thing, man, and ain't got a long way to go. But so continue to pray for us, and we welcome your prayers. We welcome anything you want to give our way in righteousness and in truth. You know what I'm saying? We ain't trying to hear no negativity, man. But just to be my tolerization for that. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if that's a word, but my toleration for that is just 0, -1. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have absolutely none of that. Like, you can't even get, it's not a response. It's nothing to that, because once you side with them, you part of the machine, and the machine gonna get destroyed. So we ain't really got no words for you. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so check out what we're doing in the description. Love to hear from you. Reach out. So you're listening to Guard the House podcast. This is your host, Dennis Yahuah Delamar, and I'm out of here. Shalom.